something that people are brought face to face with, maybe through media or even through college, depending on where they go or the professors they have, is a theory of evolution of life,
mm,
all coming from a single life form that has evolved and propagated into all the diversity we see on the planet today,
mm,
which has gone
mm,
again at least against what at least certain traditional bodies of believers have claimed. So, how should Christians think about evolution?
mm,
Is it inherently anti-Christian? Is there a possibility for someone to be both a Christian and to believe in evolution? How should
mm,
this be tackled and thought of in
mm.
Christian circles?
Yeah, good question. I think when we ask that question, we're ultimately asking, how does life begin, or when did that begin? How did that come about? And obviously, we have to go back to the Bible, which is the source of our knowledge, not only of God, but of what He did prior to our coming into the world. So scientists obviously can theorize, based on their studies and all of that, but even they could only say, this is our theory. This is how we um, put everything together. And then, 10 years from now, maybe they'll have a different way of understanding. But
Mm,
with God, obviously, this is a revelation. So for me, the best way for us to understand is to go to scripture. And if the idea of how life came to be is because, something um, uh, that life form just came as a result of this evolutionary process, that something just happened um, by way of chance. I would say, obviously, this is not the biblical um, depiction or explanation. God created everything.
mm,
Now, as to is there room for Christians to talk about evolution? And here I would say it depends on what you mean, how you define evolution, um, because even scientists make the distinction between microevolution and macroevolution. If by macroevolution or microevolution, I'll begin, uh, speaks of species adapting. Maybe some of them were in a colder area, they begin to develop maybe a thicker skin, or greater ability to withstand cold or whatever. I mean, that kind of adaptation, I don't think the Bible would actually that it's against the biblical understanding. So if you're talking about evolution in that sense, that species can adapt, I don't think that that's against the Bible. If anything, it actually upholds um, the wonder, the
mm,
greatness of a God who created beings and species that are durable, that are adaptable to be able to do this. And
mm,
we know that such things happen, right? I mean, even for instance, certain dogs that with fur, because they're in colder areas or whatever. So as far as microevolution, I think believers have room to say, look, this is not against the Bible. However, most of the time, um, people argue over evolution because they're thinking along the lines of macroevolution. And macroevolution is the view that one species can, in a sense, leap and become another. You go from an ape to a human being, or from an amoeba to a frog to this, and then to a higher life form. Well, that is a little bit that definitely goes against what the Bible depicts creation to be. So if we're talking macroevolution, clearly that would be in conflict with scripture, I would say. So, is there room? Well, it depends on what concept of evolution you're talking about.
mm,
Microevolution, I don't think there's a problem.
mhm.
Macroevolution, yes, there is a problem.
Yeah, I think that's helpful that we do see it laid out in a certain way or order within
Mm,
Genesis. And I think, like you started with saying, that we have a purposeful creator,
mm,
not accidental creation as a freak
mhm,
accident. I think
mm,
that's part of it. I think that's a really good point. And like you said, I think that we should be careful to try and interpret it well.
Mhm.
And that, someone could be a Christian, hold this, they could be wrong.
True.
But yeah, absolutely, that we should try to interpret the Bible well and be faithful to
Right.
that, and not just change our whole view based on something that's contemporary. It might be different in 10 years, like
Mhm.
you said. So just something
Yeah.
to be careful with. Absolutely. So I think that helps a lot.